Back in the basement, last time we went over mutual assent. Mutual assent, we went over restatement number 17. The formation requires two people or two parties to agree, objectively agree to the reasonable person, not necessarily, ideally it would be overtly, but doesn't have to necessarily be overt. And there needs to be consideration. And we'll talk about as consideration because that's going to be a whole set of restatements. Then restatement 22, mode of assent, offer and acceptance. One, subsection 1 talks about how it usually is an offer and I accept, right? That's the ideal world. But 2 is that, well, even if over time you can't tell when an offer or an acceptance or the assent happened, there can still be, it could still be determined that there existed mutual assent. And so now we're going to go into offers. Offers is a whole page worth of restatements for me in my outline. And we'll start with restatement 24. And 24 is one that is just like, of the restatements that's kind of seared into in my head, right? I mean, restatement 21 is something that's seared in, 1 through 2 seared. Like that's just like one that just gets cited very often. And 24 is one as well. And 24 defines what an offer is. Okay. And so an offer is, by the language of the restatements, the second restatements, is that an offer is the manifestation of willingness to enter into a bargain so made as to justify another person in understanding that his assent to that bargain is invited and will conclude it. And this last part is kind of the big takeaway that kind of distinguishes an offer. And essentially, my little commentary is that it doesn't necessarily have to, it if an offer is usually something that when it's proposed, the other person, the other people on the other end of the offer understands that if they say yes to it, means that the deal is set, right? And so the easy example is I offer to sell you my water bottle for $20. And if the other person says, yes, I will buy it, that it concludes it. And that's a very clear idea of what an offer is. Sometimes it's less clear. And an example I might give, on the fly is, let's say, I go up to somebody and I go, hey, you wanna this thing valued at $2,000. I'll take cash for it right now. That sounds a little obvious, but I mean, you get the idea. I'm not even going to try to make this example, but moving on. Restatement 36, methods of termination of the power acceptance. And so when you think of like the power of acceptance, this is kind of the big term we want to kind of look at. The power of acceptance, you kind of think of it, and like this is where I get to draw a picture, right? Is that when the person that offers, right? It's just a long stanky leg, and the person that offers, it's like, hey, here's an offer, right? And it's an offer, and it kind of like hangs in the air, right? Like, and the other person right here has the option, like if this was like a real tangible item, right? They could walk up and grab this thing, right? And once they grab it, then power, this power, right? This crown of power, right, goes away, right? And so as long as the offer is given and nothing is said on this end, they still hold the power of the offer. And so with the power of the offer in this instance is they can revoke at any time, right? I mean, if I throw the offer out and you don't say anything over here, and I mean, like it could be like, hey, I offer to sell you my car for $5. And that sounds like a great deal, right? And if you don't say I accept, but I say before you say I accept, I say I revoke, right? Technically, the offer is gone. Okay. The restatement 36(1) gives subsection A, B, C, D. These are instances in which the power of acceptance. Oh, sorry. Let me paint that picture as well. So when the offer is here, bequeathed onto the other party is the power of acceptance. And so now you have this almighty power of acceptance. And so you, right? And the only way to kind of, right, to use your power of acceptance, this thing has to like, this thing has to eat this thing. Okay. I guess to eat the offer, you know, and that's how you like, that's how you exercise your power of acceptance, you know? Um, now, now the four things that are, you know, that end the power of acceptance by the other person is one is a rejection or counter offer by the offeree. So in this picture, right, in this awful, awful, awful picture, okay, let's start over actually. You know, let me take away the power of the offer because I think that made things a little confusing. So let's say the offer is here, the offer, okay, and the offer is out in the open. And so now as the offer is out in the open, the other party over here now has the power of acceptance, okay? And so as this is alive and well, okay, if the other person says, you know what, your offer for of $10, how about we go $9 instead? Okay, $9 question mark. Okay, so what this does is now this cancels out this offer. You no longer can accept this offer anymore. Like for example, if you said $9, right, you essentially canceled and then posed an offer. Okay, you can't, a counter, right, a counter is uh equals, right, rejection plus offer. Okay, so now you can't go back to this. Even if afterwards you're like, oh, you know what? I think that was a bad idea. I'll buy it for 10. You lost your chance. Okay. Um, Now if he, you know, the other party says you said 9 and they were like, nah, I can only do 10, right? Then that becomes a counter offer to your counter offer. Still hits the rejection plus offer. And so now it's back at 10. You can freely accept this at this point, right? But you get the picture, right? Next is a lapse of time. This is kind of a reasonable lapse of time. If it's like too long, of like, you know, I send you the offer and you wait like 3 weeks, and I'm like, you snooze, you lose, right? Um, C, revocation by the offer. And so this is the example I gave where, you know, if the offer was, you know, $10 and, you know, you were like, you know, you started the sentence with I, and then all of a sudden I said, I revoke, you know, then it's too late. It's, you know, you lost the chance to the offer and death. And that one, I don't know, it's never come up in a scenario because it's kind of easy. Also, the conditions aren't met and the power of acceptance is gone. 2, okay. Subsection 2 of restatement 36 also terminated when failure to satisfy conditions. And so if an offer comes with conditions, right? It's like, I will give you this if you stay 50 feet away from this building, okay? And they come within 50 feet, you know, the condition is nullified, right? Nullify the sufficient condition. Anyway, moving on to restatement 43, indirect communication, indirect communication of revocation. So this is an offeree's power of acceptance is terminated when the offer takes some definite action inconsistent with the intention to enter into the proposed contract and the offeree acquires reliable information to this effect. So in other words, in this kind of picture again, right? Let's say like they sent the offer and then you they sent the offer, and you said, you know what, I don't know, and then you go home, right? And so now in this home, right, you can't see what's going on anymore. But now let's say that somebody else comes around and goes, I'll take that offer, and so now they take this, you know, and this, unbeknownst to this person who is happy at the moment, they don't know what happened here. But let's say now the next day their friend walks over, and they're like, hey, did you hear, Jim sold it to Timmy over here. And they're like, dang, I thought the offer was still to me. And so at the moment you get this information is the moment that I mean, it was let's say it's a mutual friend or something, then it's reliable information that it's gone, the offer is gone. Okay. This fits other scenarios. This is really simplified. Mail, maybe it's something on an ad, maybe it's something like on a website and it says like sold, right? That can work as well. Okay, restatement 58, necessity of acceptance complying with terms of offer. The language here says an acceptance must comply with the requirements of the offer as to the promise to be made or the performance to be rendered. So the offer controls the terms here. And so this food example, once again, if A over here says, here's the car, but in order for you to get this car, you need to meet me at this park at this time, and you need to bring all of it in cash. So you need to bring 2K in cash, like, and I need it all to be in $10 bills. And like, that's the offer. If as obscene or stupid as that may sound, that is within the power of the offer. Last one is section 59. And this is purported acceptance, which adds qualification. The language states that acceptance that varies terms adds terms is a counteroffer, and it operates as a rejection. And so acceptance with a change or condition of terms is a counteroffer, which is a rejection, not where you usually see like. So in other words, if I said the same example, if I said, I'll accept, but you need to wash this car and change the tires. It's just a counteroffer at that point.